safe list, caution list, and danger list. Yung caution list is the one in color yellow. So ano ba ang nasa loob ng ating yellow list? Ang yellow list na ito yung mga items na kailangan nating iwasan, especially sa mga nagsisimula pa lang ng kanilang road to healing. Habang kayo ay nagpapagaling pa lang, you have to take note of the yellow list. Kasi we already know what's in our danger list or red list. Kasi yung mga nasa red list, alam na natin na hindi talaga ito nakakabuti para sa ating kalusugan. However, we are going to put emphasis on the ones in our yellow list kasi ito yung nakikita natin na kung saan marami yung nadadapa, marami yung hindi successful sa kanilang low carb journey because hindi nga nila alam kung ano yung laman ng yellow list. Marami kasi sa mga items sa ating yellow list is considered organic, meron ding iba dito na low carb, pero hindi natin alam, ito pala ay inflammatory. So, iisa-isahin natin yan for our Beginners Monday na topic on yellow list at kung ano yung mga kailangang iwasan sa ating pagpapagaling. So, we will again look into our JGC Rojo food list na kung saan divided ito into green list, caution list, and danger list. And we will now go through the one in our yellow list. Kasi the safe list, you can always download this file and focus on the safe list. Yun yung dapat nating kainin. However, para sa mga nako-confuse pa, we are going to emphasize today kung ano yung nasa loob ng ating caution list. So, this one is a zoomed in ng caution list. So, nandyan, ang nakalagay dyan, take with caution. Limit to only one serving a day. Carbohydrate intake should be limited to 20 to 50 grams per day lamang. Yung merong mahilig sa mga zero-calorie sweeteners and diet soda, zero sugar na mga drinks, remember that it can still trigger sugar addiction. So, pwede pa rin itong magkaroon ng other effects na hindi kaaya-aya. Alcoholic drinks can lead to fatty liver, we already know that, and processed meats, hydrogenated oils na like margarine, yung mga seed oils, and certain soy products can be inflammatory when taken in excess. So, yung first part ng ating caution list are the ones with insulin effect. Bakit in-emphasize natin yung insulin effect? Because low-carb nutrition and anti-inflammatory nutrition. This food list is also called anti-inflammatory food list dahil yung food list na ito magpapababa ng pamamaga or yung inflammation sa ating katawan, and that inflammation most likely related to insulin resistance and too much insulin in the body. So, two ways. There are other items na nakakapagpataas ng insulin resistance without directly increasing the insulin levels. But these food items, yung i-discuss natin ngayon, are the foods that directly increase the insulin in the body. And that is why kapag mataas yung insulin level in the body, then there's also a likely chance na tataas din yung inflammation in the body, especially na sa pagsisimula pa lang ay may evidence na of inflammation. Bloating, pagkakaroon ng edema, pamamaga, even overweight, those can be a sign of inflammation. Ang pagkakaroon ng allergies, asthma, ang pananakit ng katawan, always frequent na joint pains and muscle pains, headache, yung tinnitus, yung pagkakaroon ng ringing of ears, even blurring of vision, pagkakaroon ng rhinitis, hindi mawawalang ubo, pagkakaroon ng GERD, and other signs of problems sa inyong health, those are likely related to inflammation. And if you are not eating low carb, if kayo ay kumakain ng generally seafood that is seeing everything, all the food that you can see, you can eat, then most likely nakatulad kayo namin dati when we are still not into low carb na kinakain lang ng kahit ano, and it's likely going over these foods. So number one in our caution list na merong insulin effect would be fruits. So majority of the fruits. So magtatanong na naman, Doc, how about po saging? Yes, fruit po ang saging. How about po watermelon? Yes, fruit din po yung watermelon. Ano naman po yung pear, yung peras, yung grapefruit, yung kahit ano pa. So, merong mga fruits that are considered as lower in carbs, but to make it simple, simplihan muna natin, especially sa simula, try to avoid fruits in general. Kakaunti lang yung fruits that are considered low carb, and even if they are low carb, hindi pa rin ito dapat i-konsumo ng unlimited. Meron pa rin tayong portions. Like say for example, if you are fond of eating strawberries, kung kayo ay mahilig sa strawberry, and alam nyong low carb ito, but actually you don't need to eat more than 5 strawberries a day. You have to take it in caution. Kung kakain ka ng berries, especially if you are eating other carbs like vegetables, you might want to limit your blueberry to 10 blueberry lamang, because those still have carbs at they are lower in carbs when it comes to amount per gram. So per 100 grams of that ay meron itong net carbohydrates na less than 5. But generally like a banana, meron itong net carbohydrates na nasa 20 to 25. So if you eat one banana, actually you can already feel like you are consuming 4 to 5 teaspoons of white sugar. So, ganun po kataas yung sugar ng banana. And we are looking into two effects because fruits are combination of glucose and fructose. Yung glucose can have direct insulin effect. There are fruits na mababa sa glucose pero mataas sa fructose. So, ito yung nakaka-confuse para sa mga diabetics na hindi man tumataas yung kanilang blood glucose when they check after eating fruits, but they are still not healing. And this is simply because those fruits, yung mga prutas na yon, most likely mataas po yon sa fructose content. At kapag mataas sa fructose content, then it is one step away na lang into making triglycerides. And triglycerides, kapag na-build up ito sa ating liver, it can be the area where insulin resistance can really happen. And when there is insulin resistance, so you are no longer tolerant even when just little amount of glucose. So that's why it is a no-no na para sa isang diabetic na kumakain ng kanin, kumakain ng ulam. So it's a combination of high carb and high fats, and maghihimagas pa ng prutas na karami-rami. Because those fruits, the glucose and fructose in those fruits, hindi na po yan mababurn pa. Those can just likely pile up na lang in your system, causing inflammation and increase insulin effect, and that is further worsening insulin resistance. So to make it simple, try to avoid fruits muna sa pagsimula. And number 2 would be the root crops and starchy foods tulad ng patatas, kamote, ube, yung mga squash, pumpkin, kalabasa, even peanuts, so yung mga mani, and beans, so yung mga red beans, white beans, black beans, those are starchy. Those are better than white rice, pero when you are consuming them, they are also considered as starchy foods. So they are easily broken down into glucose. After it is broken down from starch, yes, it has higher protein component as compared, for example, to fruits or rice, pero mataas pa rin yung overall carbohydrate levels nito when it comes to complex carbohydrate na starch. Again, this is in caution sa mga nagsisimula pa lamang. Habang kayo ay nagsisimula sa inyong pagpapagaling, you might want to lessen this first, even just the first 3 to 6 months ng inyong journey until such time na mag-subside yung level of inflammation ninyo sa inyong katawan. Even carrots. So carrots, I think there was a time in my life na pinilit ko talagang kumain ng carrots, na inisip ko na lang na si Bugs Bunny ako just so I can appreciate carrots. And yun nga, over time, I appreciated carrots na masarap na siya for me, even if it's raw, only to realize that carrots pala can still be high carb kapag sobra yung kinain mo. But of course, if it's just slices, especially yung pampakulay ng ating low carb plate, shreds lang of carrots, that can be okay. Hindi naman tayo ganun ka-OA. But if you are going to indulge like half kilo of carrots, 1/4 kilo of carrots, then most likely that's already too much carbohydrates na hindi mo kailangan sa iyong buhay. And of course, emphasis on peanuts. Peanuts are not nuts, these are legumes, and it is considered as high carb pa din. It can be high carb because it can be inflammatory and it has insulin effect. But for those na konti lang, if you can stop yourself from eating more than one handful of peanuts in a day and 2 to 3 times a week, then you can allow it. Pero kung hindi, because peanut is very, very nakakagana, it's very appetizing, it easily becomes high carb, even if gram per gram, it can be low carb. It can be low carb if you are just eating like 1 tablespoon of pure peanut in a day. But again, you should be cautious about it kasi yung mga peanuts po, it has insulin effect and it can have some inflammatory effect, especially for those who are sensitive. So for the sake of healing and for the sake of progress na sustainable at yung makikita talaga natin, madaling makita kung saan tayo mag-a-adjust ng ating pagkain, try to avoid muna the ones in the caution list. Kasi kapag meron kayong kakaunting caution list, dalawa, tatlo, if your progress is not that good, nagsustall yung weight loss, yung healing, matagal pa rin, yung blood pressure, hindi pa rin bumababa, then mahirap i-pinpoint which one is the real cause. So that's why to make it easy and safe, try to avoid muna the ones na nandito. And when we say na avoid muna in 3 to 6 months, you remove them in your life for a while. And after that, if you think na you are already fully healed, of course, when it comes to your laboratory results, merong magandang improvement, your blood pressure and blood glucose monitoring, maganda din. And most importantly, yung pakiramdam ninyo ay masasabi nyo ng, I am fully healed, then you can accommodate some of these caution lists. Kasi nga, hindi naman ito completely bawal talaga. We just have to be very cautious about it. And if we still need healing, again, hindi pa ito time for us to overindulge them. And the last and important part of the caution list na merong insulin effect ay ang grains. So, it could be kanin, pwedeng mais, pwedeng wheat, pwedeng oatmeal, quinoa, couscous, and marami pang iba. So, adlay, so those are still grains. So, you should limit to 20 grams of net carbohydrates per day and you can easily overeat them. To show you kung ano yung 20 grams, eto yon. So, isang kalahating bun or isang kakarampot na pasta, ilang kutsarang kanin, and maliit na patatas, that's already considered as 20 grams of net carbohydrates per plate. So that's why sobrang dali itong i-overeat and it's also not filling, not satisfying. That's why it is very seldom for you to see one person eating only 2 tablespoons of rice. Unless of course, sobrang tagal nang naka-low carb at ngayon tumitikim-tikim na lang. And yes, there are no longer beginners, then maybe they have observed na kayang-kaya ng katawan nila to tolerate those. But generally, for those who are starting, and even if it's just a start, if you've been in low carb for so long and you are doing well, you can even continue avoiding the one in the caution list. Not just because na lumagpas na kayo sa 3 to 6 months adjustment period ay you will force yourself to eat these caution lists. Hindi po. Those are just options that you can have. But like for me, I would rather stay on the safe list for as long as I can. Kasi sayang yung progress natin, sayang yung paglinis natin sa ating katawan when we will just put back the problems na nawala na sana natin. And the colorful plates here are the plates that are also 20 grams per plate, but it's coming from the safe list. So when it comes to safe list, it is more filling, more nutrient dense, mas marami yung makukuha nyong vitamins and mineral profile than just the ones in starch. Okay, so we will go over the other caution list or yellow list. So, yung eto, these are mostly low carb. Okay, so low carb meaning per 100 ml or 100 grams, ang carbs nito, yung sugar component nito, ay nasa 5 or less lang. So yes, they are low carb. However, kailangan pa rin tayong maging cautious dito. Bakit? It can produce unnatural cravings or pwedeng magkaroon ng inflammatory effect. Pwede pa rin itong mag-lead sa pamamaga. So, these would include processed meats. So, processed meats na sugar-free, kasi if it's a bacon na honey-cured and it has a lot of sugar, the chorizo and everything na mga tocino na not low carb, it's automatic on the danger list na yan. But for the processed meats that are sugar-free, but merong maraming preservatives, maraming kung ano-anong mga chemicals for it to be preserved and it is highly processed, then you should be wary about it. Ito should be consumed in caution. And yun nga, habang sa simula, kung pwede, linisin muna ang pantry and focus on the same safe list. It's all or none. Although we have to acknowledge na meron namang iba na can be successful kahit pa sila ay nagkumakain ng kakaunting nasa caution list because they are on that path of slowly but surely. But the surely part, we don't know. But they are taking the slow route. So hopefully they will be successful as well. Again, iba-iba naman tayo ng pamamaraan, but this one is somewhat the ideal that we can think of so that when you quit, you really quit. Just like in smoking, wala pong nagiging successful sa pakonti-konting pag-reduce ng kanilang cigarette na smoking. But when they want to quit, it's just quitting all of a sudden, and then you can be successful. And that is something that you can also apply when it comes to your nutrition, and always be motivated, be ready, and be inspired thinking of your future self. Sabi nga ng sister ko, we asked her why she's been very successful in the many things she devote herself to, and her answer is only very simple. For everything na ginagawa niya, yung iniisip lang niya, I will only do the things that my future self will thank me. So if you will do this today, whatever you decide today, try to ask yourself, yung future self mo, pasasalamatan ka ba with this decision or not? Because if your future self will likely to blame you or put the regret kung gagawin mo ito, then most likely it's not the best thing. But if you think this path is something na yung future self mo ay pasasalamatan ka, then maybe that is something that you really need to do. And you can start by avoiding muna yung mga nasa yellow list, especially sa mga nagsisimula pa lang. And for the veterans who are here, thank you so much and welcome. And maraming salamat for still supporting us here. And I hope whatever you learn here, you will apply to your loved ones and families para sila ay matulungan din. So, to continue, processed meats, we have the processed cheese and dairies, including mga regular butter na hindi full grass-fed, yung mga majority of milk, unless it's a raw milk. So soft and the hard cheeses, the heavy cream, the all-purpose cream, be very cautious about it. I've just finished my online LCF private sessions with our online patients, and yon, meron sa kanila yung nagkaroon ng some degree of insulin resistance despite sticking to low carb. And ano yung na-overeat nila? It's the keto low carb goodies na we don't know that might be high in heavy creams and all-purpose creams na making it so yummy, so addicting, but it could also be inflammatory. So just try to look at this list na low carb, pero it could be leading to more cravings and more inflammation. And next would be the condiments. So again, this one, the processed meat, especially yung titingnan mo pa lang na hindi mo na malalaman kung saan galing. So those are most likely very unnatural. So yung mga cheeses, especially the liquid cheeses, cheese sauce, yun din yung mga paborito natin before. But looking at it, nung tiningnan ko yung ingredient ng isang cheese sauce, parang sumakit lang ulo ko bigla when I saw how it is very rich in vegetable oil. So yun, never again mag-cheese sauce. And processed cheeses, so try to avoid, limit them when you can. If ever talaga na kailangan talaga ng cheese and dairies, choose the natural cheeses. At least now with the big supermarkets around, available na din. And yun nga, yung next natin for our unnatural cravings, inflammatory effect, yellow list would be everything that is saying no sugar, but meron pa ring sweeteners. So why do we need to avoid this muna? Because it can lead to many cravings. It can make us addict when it comes to sweet taste. We will forever crave it. And yung nakita natin when you are going to crave these unnatural flavors na enhanced with artificial flavorings, you will tend to crave other foods na supposedly hindi kailangan ng katawan mo. So instead of you craving for real food like fish, like beef, and chicken and eggs, you will now tend to crave na mga nakadilata na mga corned beef o yung mga luncheon meats and all other processed foods, hot dogs na hindi talaga natural for us. So it's a vicious cycle na ayaw nating simulan, and we can get out of that vicious cycle by first eliminating them. So avoid lang muna, and even the safer kind of sweeteners like allulose, stevia, monk fruit, erythritol still under our caution list kasi nga it will make us crave more. And if you don't have that sense of control, especially when you are starting, then you might lose the battle early on. But if you think you can accommodate, you have that sense of control, now you don't go over one little piece of like a bite of low carb brownie, then maybe you can accommodate it. But again, to simplify, these are the things that you should be wary about. Na every time you consume them, at least you are well aware, you are cautious, merong awareness talaga. Hindi lang yung basta lang kasi ito ay low carb, kasi ito ay keto. You can already indulge as much as you want. And of course, we have the next one would be the condiments, other condiments. So avoid muna. The simplest form of condiments would be salt, pepper, herbs. Okay? Salt and pepper na nga lang. Kung walang pepper, salt na lang. Salt is essential. Kailangan na kailangan yan sa pagsisimula. And the rest, you can easily forget if you can add after the salt and pepper. My next favorite would be vinegar. Yan. I already am salivating just thinking about vinegar. And you can enjoy that. If you want vinaigrette, you can just combine vinegar and some olive oil and some pepper and salt. And sobrang sarap na yan. You can add it to your salads or even as dip. So, yon, avoid muna condiments. Kahit pa maliliit lang yung kanilang amount, that's why it can be low carb. But to make the process clean, avoid muna tayo ng condiments. And next would be the soy. So, soy is halos pure proteins yan. So, it's really low carb. However, there are people who are sensitive to soy. Meron itong phytoestrogens that for those na meron ng sobrang taas na estrogen sa kanilang katawan, it can be an added estrogen burden. So, soy products can be in many forms. Be careful ng mga veggie meat. So, mga vegetarian meats, those are mostly soy-based. Soy sauce. So, instead of soy sauce, try to live without it. So, you can have what we call as white adobo. So, adobo sa puti. So, pwedeng wala na. And of course, meron tayong cocoa aminos, but cocoa aminos, when it comes naman to net carbs, medyo mataas din yung kanyang fructose content. So that's why if you use even cocoa aminos, it is a little better than soy sauce. But it should be on the very, very minimal amount lang din. That's why it is still in our caution list because we cannot simply overeat it. So others, tofu, ano pa ba? Yung tofu, and ano nga yun? Taho. So, yan, taho. And of course, no, hindi naman kompleto yung taho kung wala yung syrup, and it's the combination of inflammation and sugar that will make it even more dangerous. So, avoid soy products muna when you are still starting in low carb. And again, just to remind you, yes, soy has been shown to be better to improve many health markers. But remember, these are studies done on high carb diet. So, of course, when you replace soy with other junk foods, of course, it is better. But that is why we are not simply satisfied with just being better, but we are looking into real healing talaga. Okay? Kasi if you are feeling like you are doing better, pero yung gamot mo ay mas lalo lang dumadami over time, then maybe that doesn't really mean that you are healing. You are just maintaining your illness, your status quo, and your medications as well. But real healing will eventually not need those medications, and it is possible with the right guidance, with the right knowledge. That's why we have these episodes like the Beginner's Monday. So moving forward, the last one would be the drinks. So there are low carb drinks, which would be the not beer drinks. So yung mga hindi beer, hindi flavored, those are mostly low carb, like ano ba yan? Martini, whiskey, brandy, wine. Yeah, that can be a part of your low carb. However, vodka, however, the alcohol in there can be inflammatory on its own. So habang nagsisimula sa low carb journey, try to avoid them in 3 to 6 months. Do a clean, low carb. And then, when you introduce the ones na nasa caution list, nasa yellow list natin, pa isa-isa lang para alam natin agad what will we feel, what is the effect sa ating katawan when that happens. Because if not, ay hindi natin mapinpoint kung sino talaga sa kanila yung may kasalanan. So, when you reintroduce something coming from the yellow list and the danger list, paisa-isa lang, huwag sabay-sabay, and you can really see which ones you can tolerate. Because I have seen others na after being on clean low carb for a while, they've been sustained with their health kahit kumain sila ng nasa ating mga low GI whole foods, which would include kamote and potato and some fruits. But meron naman akong kakilala na they cannot tolerate fruits. The moment they take fruits, nag-easily rhinitis came in, pangangate, and pagkakaroon ng rashes in an instant. So, iba-iba yan. That's why if ever you would consider adding in back the ones in the yellow list, then you should add it little by little, one by one, for you to really observe and see ano yung reaksyon ng katawan mo dito. But otherwise, for the many of us, I don't think we will ever go back even to the yellow list, because in 2 steps in low carb, we've already considered avoiding the NASA caution list and the danger list forever. Kung pwede pa lang, save them on the special, most special occasions talaga. And of course, we are focusing more on the foods that we can enjoy. So those are real foods like fish, eggs, chicken, pork, beef, seafood, and many more. So yan, focus on the low carb na whole foods. If you take vegetables, as long as it's low carb, it is either cooked or uncooked. So nasa sa inyo. I think I saw one comment about that. So my vegetables are either cooked or uncooked. Like for pechay, I love cooked pechay so much. Kahit pa bloating ako, because I'm also not sensitive to certain fibers. But I love pechay so much. And for lettuce and other naman, you can eat it as raw. So yon. And thank you, of course, everybody, and to all our partners na nagsuporta ng ating NLCD 2022. Hope to see you on our part 2 this coming December 2. And for those who wish to have an LCF private session with me, we have an online appointment Monday to Wednesdays. Baka meron pang available this month. But for face-to-face, our next face-to-face session in our Ortigas LCF Center would be on November 15 na po. So it's just a limited slot. It's just a one-day face-to-face on November 15. Kindly message our admins na lang for scheduling if you wish to have that. And of course, excited to meet our participants in our meet and greet in Dumaguete this October 2022. So this coming Saturday na yan, we will be there on October 2022. For those who are nearby, you are more than welcome to join to have dinner. Let's have dinner and let's have a night full of kwentuhan when it comes to your journey, your healing, and how we can possibly help each other improve your journey even more. And for those naman na gustong mag-Boracay on November, so forever summer naman tayo sa Pilipinas regardless of date and time. So November 29 po in Boracay, meet and greet. And of course, in December 4, 2022, Low Carb MNL Fun Run and Family Day. We will post the registration details soon, but for those who wish to become partners, you can already send your intent to our admin. So yun, maraming salamat everybody. And of course, sa mga sumali for our virtual attendees sa ating Low Carb Con, hope you are already part of the group. Meron atang isa or dalawa na hindi nakasali agad-agad. I hope you will be very patient and be understanding na baka nakaligtaan lang, honest mistake from our admins, but hindi po ito scam. These are all available for you, Low Carb Con and National Low Carb Day PH. Thank you so much po. And for those na nagsisimula pa lang, make sure na part na kayo ng ating growing community, Life Without Rice. It's already more than 430,000 members. And of course, Low Carb Feasting and Fasting community for support. And yan, maraming salamat. Now at 916,000 followers, if you can share the page, if you can help us reach 1 million. So that would mean so much to us. And thank you also for subscribing in our YouTube channel, now at 200,000 subscribers. So thank you so much, everybody. Hope to see you again next time. This is your Diet Doctora, Dr. Josephine Grace Chuarojo, and our topic for today is the yellow list. Iwasan sa simula sa mga taong nagpapagaling pa. Maraming salamat. I'll see you then. And of course, we have daily episodes Mondays to Sunday. Mondays to Saturdays are all public. Monday yung Sunday lang yung exclusive natin as masterclass week. So, yan. So, yun yung mga topic natin sa ating daily video. So, we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So, thank you so much, guys. So maraming salamat. That ends today's session. And I hope, of course, for you to always stay low carb so that we all stay safe. Maraming salamat and thank you to our NLCD partners for helping us improve this lifestyle by spreading good news and spreading our advocacy and making low carb an everyday language for every Filipino home. So we hope that each and everyone will learn about low carb and see the healing and experience it themselves. Maraming salamat, guys. Stay low carb, stay safe. Bye-bye.